Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to talk about my amazing flow. Nah, I'm kidding. We are going to play an amazing poker session, buying in for $1,000. We have an opponent playing every single hand, raising, calling, getting in there in the mix. We make some big hands against him, nut flushes, sets. We sculpt mountains like these and these. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, welcome back everyone. For the first hand, we looked out at Pocket Kings, the second best starting hand. We decide to raise it up, we get one caller, we c-bet this dry ass board, and they fold. It's a shitty way to start, but that's alright because for the next hand, we get Pocket Queens and we get plenty of action. And some pretty crazy action at that. We decide to open it up to $20 in the hijack, and we get two callers from the small blind and the under the gun +1 limper. We have a lot of limps at this table, so we're going three ways to a board of 10-6-4, a beautiful, beautiful board. I'm expecting the action to check to me and deciding how much I want to bet here, but small blind checks, under the gun +1 now leads out for $20. What the heck is going on? To me, it just seems like a weak 10 just trying to see where he's at, such as 9-10, Jack 10, we block, Queen 10, so just some of those weaker hands. He could have Ace 10, it just doesn't really make sense for him to bet out. So I just put in the flat call. I don't think we can have any raises on this board. We hope that he has a 10 and he'll continue to keep firing on later streets. And the small blind comes along as well. So very interesting. So we're still three ways to a turn of a 4, which is a beautiful turn. It reduces the combinations that he has: pocket 4s, 6-4, just a beautiful card. We're beating him if he somehow had 10-6. If a jack or a 9 comes and he had 9-10, jack 9, we have a better 2 pair. Now the small blind checks and under the gun +1 does not stop firing, which is a great sign. He bets out for $80. I do think about raising here, but like I said, I'm really not worried about anything. There's not even any straight draws out there. I'm hoping he'll fire big on the river and then we can just raise. If he goes really big, we'll probably just call. So I just put in the call, hoping the small blind comes along as well, but he folds. So we're going heads up to a river, which comes the Ace of Hearts. It's a super interesting card. I should have all the strong aces. I just don't know if I would call the turn with Ace King, Ace Queen. I do think he's going to still have a 10 here. Like I said, if he bets here, I'm going to call, but he decides to slow down and check, so I want to go for some value here, thinking he's got a 10. Maybe he's planning to bluff catch if I want to bet out now with pocket 8s, pocket 9s, but I would just check those back. So I want to pick a sizing that will get a 10 to call. I decide to go on a sizing of $150. I think it's not too big where he's just going to fold, and I think it's not too small where it looks way too much like value and he'll fold anyways. I think it's the perfect sizing, but after a long think, he looks me over, he counts some chips, I'm praying for a call, and he folds, later telling me that he flopped 2 pair, which means he had 10-6. What? That does not make any sense. This table is crazy, and it gets even crazier, so stay tuned. For the next hand, we look down at pocket 5s in the small blind, and for the avid vlog watchers, you know if there's a small pocket pair in there, we are going to flop a set, and that's exactly what happens on Jack 5-3 with 2 clubs. I check it over to the pre-flop raiser, and he continues for $35, which I am very, very, very happy to see. If there was a rainbow board, I would definitely check call. When there's 2 clubs out there, I'm going to be raising, so I decided to check raise it up to $95, and my opponent thinks forever, which wasn't too indicative. He was an older gentleman. He was thinking every single hand. It was funny. He actually called clock on somebody else, and they, very pissed off, said, dude, you take 10 years every hand. How the F are you going to be the one to call clock? And after this long think, he puts in the call. So we're looking for a good turn, no club, maybe board pair, maybe a jack, maybe he'll have ace jack. We can get some stacks in. And the turn comes a queen, no club. I'm hoping he's got queen jack and we can get a lot of money. I decide to bet out for $155, and after yet another long think, he decides to fold, unfortunately, and we're on to the next hand. Bang, pocket aces. We finally get a hand to play against the crazy opponent playing every single hand. He opens it up under the gun to $15. The old man makes the call. We are 3-betting this one up to $80, usually our classic sizing. The crazy player snap calls the $80, and now the old man, who takes forever to think about decisions, takes forever to think about his decision and then folds. Alright, you could have just did that a little bit earlier, but anyways, going heads up to a board of Jack 6-4 with 2 diamonds, a beautiful, beautiful board, and I decide to actually check this one back. I want to give him some rope to go absolutely ballistic. This is totally player dependent. Some of you can argue, and I would agree, that against a player like this, you want to just bet to get the max value, but I want to set a trap here, and let's just see if it works out in this hand. So now we're just still going heads up to a turn, which is a deuce of clubs. So now there's 2 spades and 2 clubs out there. And when he checks for a second time, we now have to start trying to get some value, trying to get some money in the middle. I decide to bet out for $80 and he basically snap calls, as you see. So I don't know, maybe we missed some value on the flop, but let's just see what the river brings. And it's a jack. That's absolutely disgusting. I want to just throw up all over the table, and he makes matters even worse when he bets out for $100. Against this player and against basically everyone at the table, I'm never folding with how I represented my hand. It literally looks like I have ace high, but surprise, we've got 2 aces. We have aces. We do not have ace high. So I put in the snap call, and he immediately says, "You're good."
I call.
Oh, 105.
I call.
And says I can never hit a draw, showing a club draw, so maybe our check actually got us paid. I think with that specific holding that he showed, he would have folded the flop, so I'm curious, do you guys like how I played this one? And we're on to the next hand. For the next hand here, we look down at ace 10 of hearts on the button and decide to open it up to $25, and we get 2 calls out of the small blind and the crazy loose player once again, so we're going to be playing lots of pots against him. Going 3 ways to a board of 7, 8, 9 with 1 heart. We flop the open ender and the backdoor heart draw. It checks to me, and I don't want to get check raised off of a massive draw here. So I decide to check this one back, and boom, we see the 6, giving us the 10 high straight, only losing to jack 10. Checks to the crazy player who bets out for $40. I decide to just flick in the call here for a few reasons, and I just wanted to list them off briefly. 1, it's very much under-repping our hand. Pretty much everyone would raise with a straight, so when we're just calling, it looks like we have some type of draw or some type of overpair, which could allow him to blast off on the river, and then we can raise, which will look like a bluff, and he'll pay us off. And it also can bring in the other player, which is exactly what it does. The small blind puts in the call, so we're going 3 ways to the possible worst river in the deck. The 9 of spades, the front door spade draw comes in, and now the board is paired. So when it checks to me, I just don't see us having much value, and I flip over my hand. It's good. The crazy loose player showed jack 9, so he didn't bet the flop and then decided to bet the turn. Pretty interesting, shows you how much action he's giving, and let's head to the next hand. For the next hand, we look down at the beautiful king 9 of clubs. Yes, a bit loose in this game, but that's okay. We see 1 limb from under the gun +1, and we open it up to $20 in the cutoff. Both the blinds make the call, and the limper makes the call, so we're going 4 ways to a board in which we whiff. So you might be asking, why is this hand in the vlog? But just watch, alright? The action checks to me. I don't want to put in a c-bet here, although the ace should favor me. I decide to check, and we see a beautiful 6 of clubs on the turn. We pick up the club flush draw, the small blind checks, and now our favorite person of this vlog, the action player, decides to bet out here. He makes it $40, just like he did when we had the ace 10. We decide to flick in the call, and the small blind comes along as well, so I'm saying, please, club, one time, club, and boom, we hit the flush. The backdoor flush, the best way to hit a flush because nobody is ever going to suspect it. Praying this loose, crazy opponent has a hand and he'll continue here. The small blind checks, and that's exactly what happens. The big blind, the crazy player, our savior, our hero, bets out for $75. It gets to me, and now I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how much money can we get here? How strong of a hand does he have here after checking the flop? He could have been going for a check raise with a set. He could have a very strong 2-pair. Nonetheless, I think raising big makes the most sense because after we check the flop, we are very capped. What strong hands are we going to have here? I wouldn't even go for value with ace king or ace queen. I'm just flat calling. So it's basically flush or nothing, and I feel like although he's loose and splashy, he's good enough to know that. I decide to raise it up to $365. It's $260 more to him. I hope I did that math right, but nonetheless, I think that this is a great size to get paid off by a 2-pair. A set, maybe he even has a weak ace and he's like, you know what, F it, I'm gonna call. He starts thinking, hopping in the tank, and he says, oh, I don't know how I can fold this. Music to my ears. Now we just have to wait for him to make the call, or so I thought. He starts thinking, he says out loud, am I good enough to make this fold? And I'm like, oh my goodness, is he about to hero fold something absolutely ridiculous like 2-pair or a set to us? He says out loud, do you have the flush? How do you have the flush? It's flush or nothing. And my heart is racing. Please make the call. It will make our session absolutely amazing. After some time, he decides to fold. Oh my goodness. He shows ace 8. What the heck? That is disgusting. That That is the worst when the action player in the game pays everyone off except for you. It's alright, we're going to have to collect ourselves and head to the next hand. For the next hand, we look down at black pocket sevens in the big blind. Under the gun opens it up to $15 and 3 players call ahead of me, so I obviously flick in the call. No need to go crazy with a squeeze here, just going to flick in the call and hope to see a good board, and that's pretty much exactly what we see in 4, 5, 8 of all spades. That means if the 6 of spades comes, we have a straight flush. Pretty sick here. We also block 6, 7 for the nuts, and nonetheless, pocket sevens could still be good here. So the small blind checks, I decide to check, and the big blind continues for $35. I'm expecting at least one of the other 3 players to call, but they all fold to me. So now it's just me and the under the gun player, and what does his range consist of? I mean, obviously some aces, kings, queens, ace king, ace queen, yada yada yada. None of those hands are going to absolutely love this board unless he specifically has ace king of spades or ace queen of spades. So I decide to put in the check raise here, but no need to go absolutely massive. I make it $120, planning to just take it down right now, but after a small think, my opponent makes the call. So we're going heads up to a turn. I'm hoping to see the beautiful 6 of spades, and he'll have the ace of spades, and we could double up here, but it comes the 2 of clubs. Not good. But nonetheless, like I said, I still block 6, 7 for the nuts. Aces and kings are still not going to love this board. I'll have all the sets, and sevens could still be good. So now I decide to put in a bet of $145. Not sure if it's value, not sure if it's a bluff, but it's sort of in the middle, and I know you shouldn't really be doing these things if it's in the middle. If I think my sevens are good, I could just check call all the way down. But I want to put on the pressure. If he does have the ace of spades, we could get plenty of value, and then obviously he'll give up and fold on the river, and we'll win a beautiful size pot here. Or I could just take it down right now, perfectly fine with that, but that's not the case as under the gun once again makes the call. So it does appear he's at least got something here. Not sure if he's got an 8, but I don't know how many 8s he would have from under the gun, but let's just see the river, which is disgusting. Probably one of the worst cards in the deck, the ace of clubs. Now if he did have ace king, ace queen with just the naked ace of spades, he's now beating us. But with all this aggression that I've shown, if I check it over to him, he should probably check it back, but that's not the case. I decide to slow down and check here. I just don't really think a bet is in order, and he pretty quickly tosses out $200, and I did think about calling here because usually when people are bluffing, they just act very quick, and they use whole sizings, $100, $200, $300. They're never really cutting out a bet. But I don't know, after thinking about the hand he raised from under the gun, he called my raise on the flop, called my bet on the turn, and now he's pretty quickly betting out here. He could just be pretty quickly betting to, try to level me into call, to try to make me think he's weak and he's on a bluff. He could just have the absolute nuts, ace king of spades, ace queen of spades, and just dragging me in for all this value. So, although I do want to put in the call, I think better of it, and frustratingly, fold. Just a disgusting hand, and let me know down below how you guys would have played it, and we're on to the next one. Alright, I don't even know what to say about this hand. Just listen to the action, and you can decide for yourself. So we look down at Jack 7 of hearts on the big blind. Yet again, the same player to my left opens it up to 15. We get 3 colors again, but this time it's 3 different players than the last hand. So it's similar, but different. And we're going to a board of Jack 6-4 with 2 diamonds. Certainly an interesting board. We flop ourselves top pair. We have backdoor hearts, I guess, as well. So I start off with the check. The initial raiser bets out for 25. And now our action player, our fever player at the table, raises it up to $75. And in my head, when he did this, I was immediately thinking flush draw because he's just been playing crazy all night. So I was anticipating it to fold back to me. And then I was actually thinking about putting a 3-bet in on the flop to just see where he's at, what type of hand he's got. We could definitely get it heads up. Like I said, I got backdoor hearts to fall back on. I don't know. I just listen, okay? But the button cold calls this $75, and when that happens, alarm bells are going off in my head. I'm immediately thinking sets of 6s, sets of 4s, and I am done with this hand. So unfortunately, I decided to fold, but I kept the camera rolling because just watch. The initial raiser calls the $75. And I want you guys to just remember here the initial raiser, okay? So now the turn comes, and it's a heart. So I'm like, oh my goodness, I hate them for doing this. So now the initial raiser checks, and now the action player bets out for $150. And now the player who cold called on the flop calls the $150. So I'm like, okay, I probably am right that he has 6s and 4s. And now the initial raiser calls the $150. So there's still 3 ways to a river. And I'm like, please don't put a heart out there. I will literally just throw up all over the table. And the 10 of hearts. We would have made a backdoor flush in a spot where we would have definitely gotten paid from at least 1, maybe 2 of these players. I don't know what they have, but let's just watch the action. The initial raiser checks, the crazy player checks, and now the button checks. So you're like, okay, what do these guys have, right? The initial raiser flips over, pocket 3s, and both the other players go, yeah, you're good. Pocket 3s? Are you kidding me? So our jack was way ahead. I don't know what these players had. I guess a straight draw and a flush draw. But what the heck? This table is crazy. We would have won so much money. Oh my goodness. Okay, you know what? No folding out of me. Time to make some money and win a huge pot. I look down at Queen Jack of Hearts under the gun and I open it up to $30. Everyone's calling. None of the 15, none of the 20, none of the 25. Let's go to 30. And I get 2 callers, 1 in the action player and 1 on the button. So this is just beautiful and even better when the flop comes. Jack 8, 6, rainbow. There is no slow playing today. Time for me to bet. I bet out for $25 and just the action player makes the call. Let's go. The turn comes in 8, which looks a little bit scary because he obviously could have an 8, but I'm not going anywhere. Now I decide to bet out for $50 and he makes the call once again. So maybe he's got a weaker jack and we'll string him along. Maybe I'm value owning myself against, the 2 combinations of bigger jacks. But I just think he's going to have a lot of 9, 10, a lot of smaller pairs, and he's just not going to fold. So when the river comes seemingly a brick here, I think it's time to continue to go for some value. Obviously, it looks like my hand is super strong, but like I said, he's been calling off and, paying people off and just putting in money all the time. So I cut out and bet out for $150. And immediately he's like, oh man, again with you. And I'm like, okay, I'm definitely good because, he's snap calling a better hand than mine and he's just not going to talk and raise if he's got a better hand. So I'm like, okay, perfect. My read was spot on. He's got a weaker jack or he's got just kind of some small pocket pair like pocket 5s and he just doesn't want to let them go. And then he verbalizes, do you have a better jack than me? So I'm like, okay, there's not too many better jacks than mine, so I should be good here. And after a while, he flicks in the call. I show my queen jack and he goes, man, you must have had a laser read. I had jack 9. That's crazy that you went for value like that. Just got to do what I got to do. I'm very happy with my play here. We win a nice size pot and let's head to the next one. All right, we have not been getting any premiums all night. Time for an absolute premium. Ace, king of spades. Let's get some big action. Let's flop a nut flush ourselves, huh? We raise it up to $20 and get 1 call. Head to a board that does not look too good. The turn looks all right, should be good for our range. I decide to see bet, and of course, they fold. No action for us. It was getting late. We had sat for 6 hours, so I decided to rack up, head to the cage. We book a profit of $600 over 5 hours. Could have been better. I'm very happy with how I played. I hope you guys enjoyed it and have a great day. Peace out.